Cast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, welcome to another CW webinar. I'm Wanderson, and this time we will bring you the main highlights of our World Cement Clinker Slag Sea-Based Trade 2021 update. On today's agenda, I will share some information about today's presenters and give you an introduction first of our company, what it is that we do and what we have to offer, and give you some insights of what you can find in this new reports edition. After this brief introduction, we will move on to our report's highlights, focusing on a macroeconomic overview, a market overview of the sea-based trade, a market outlook, and finalize with our closing remarks. For today's presentation, I would like to introduce myself, Wanderson Teixeira, Junior Business Analyst at CW Group, as well as my colleague Vasco Teixeira, also our Junior Business Analyst, both of us based here in Portugal. Now, I would like to give you a brief introduction of our company. Please bear here with me. CW Group is presented across three distinct branches: advisory, research, and media. Under the advisory umbrella, CW works with major consultancies and leading institutions, including the World Bank and funds on projects. We also provide consulting and advisory expertise on a diverse product portfolio. For example, a recent sample of advisory projects that we engaged include a complete business process analysis for an online art gallery website, also a detailed feasibility study for the Middle Eastern petrochemical compound that wanted to manufacture a specific chemical compound. We also recently had an advisory engagement for a defense contractor who was looking to enter into the secondary explosive manufacturing. Now, under our research umbrella, CW focuses on cement demand globally, as well as detailed industry and country reports. We provide historical and forecasts for markets in a variety of products, including our main products, which are the VFR, which is the volume forecast report, and TPR, trade prices report. We also provide commodity price assessments for clinker, cement, as well as pet coke and coal. And at last, but not least, to wrap up this presentation, under the media umbrella, you can have online access to our vast database. You can also subscribe to newsletters for topics of interest, including cement, building materials, paper and pulp, bulk, and pet coke. And we also have some industry-specific meetings, which, of course, as of now, are happening online because of the COVID, but as soon as possible, we'll be back to be in person. Now, to provide you with a better understanding of what you can expect of our World Cement Clinker and Slag Sea-Based Trade 2021 update, this report includes an in-depth data-oriented analysis of the seaborne clinker, cement, slag, fly ash, and white cement that is updated on a yearly basis. We also have a special focus on analyzing trade flows, pricing trends, as well as looking at the trading infrastructure required for the movement of the specialized dry bulk cargo. Added to this, we also give you a comprehensive overview of terminals, suppliers of cementitious materials to help strategy decision makers across the industries to make the right decisions regarding exports and imports of cementitious products. And we provide an in-depth analysis on grade, fly ash, slag, and clinker demand figures to help you understand the opportunities and threats to those specific market segments. In our next slide, we give you a brief understanding of our methodology adopted for this report. As you can see, we have a bottom-up approach to analyze demand for cementitious materials across all major markets. This is divided by segments: cement, clinker, fly ash, slag, and white cement. We complement this with a review of data from various sources. This includes ports and customs, which allow us to create a detailed understanding of the production and consumption for those cementitious products. We further complement this utilizing our proprietary databases for cement carrier information, which is combined then with cement terminals information in order to create an overall picture of the infrastructure capabilities of cementitious products. This is then reviewed and analyzed, giving our clients a comprehensive sea-based cementitious products trade review of this specific year, as well as a forecast for the next 5 years. Of course, for a more detailed description of our methodology, this can be found in the methodology section of our report. And also for more details about our report, feel free to click in the link found in this presentation. Now, moving on, I would like to start by presenting an overview of the macro section, so we can start off. In this slide, you can see our latest data released from the IMF, which was provided in June 2021. In this data, we see that even though the global economy is expected to see a recovery in 2021, we still have divergences across countries and sectors. They are still reflecting the variation in disruptions caused by the pandemic last year, and also the extension of policy support. In terms of advanced economies, they are expected to have an increase this year, mostly in the euro area. We have Spain and Italy, which are set to see a sharp recovery from the deep contraction that they had last year, caused by the pandemic, which led to major lockdown measures to try to contain the virus, and of course led to a huge economic contraction for those countries. In the case of Latin America and the Caribbean, after a sharp decline last year, we expect a mild recovery for this year, with the long-term outlook continue to be dependent not only on the vaccines rollout, but also in the fiscal policy support that they are expected to receive in the short term. However, on the average, countries that started vaccination early are expected to have a better prospect. But we are also seeing a third wave of cases that is surging in various regions. So because of that, the short-term outlook still remains very challenging for the world in terms of the economic scenario. In our next slide, of course, when we talk about economic scenario, we cannot talk about that without talking about the COVID, since it has such a big implication in this aspect. So as of today, globally, we have 185 million cases diagnosed, with the US, India, and Brazil amongst the countries with the most cases diagnosed so far. Even though the vaccination programs adopted by those countries in the beginning of the year have been going further, we see a resurgence of cases that has been noticed in the past couple of months. Also, with this new resurgence of cases, we have another concern, which are the new variants that are being spread in many regions. For example, in Europe, the Delta variant, which was first diagnosed in India, is spreading fast, and we expect to have 90% of the new cases, new infections in Europe to be taken by this variant, according to the European Disease Control Agency. And of course, here in Portugal, we are seeing a surge in those cases. For example, yesterday we had 3,000 new cases, and this is mostly because of this new variant that is spreading very, very fast. Now, in this is next slide, we are talking about here about the Baltic Dry Index, our freight rate. We have seen an increase in the freight rate in the past couple of months as economies start a recovery process. In this month, we saw an increase in iron ore exports from Brazil, which is also affecting positively the freight rate index. And for the remainder of the year, we are expected to see freight rates maybe surpass the 4,000 points as markets are seeing a recovery, and not only Brazil but China are expected to contribute largely to this recovery in the global shipping market. Now, I would like to pass the presentation to my colleague Vasco Teixeira, who will continue on with the main highlights of our report. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Wanderson, and hello, everyone. I will lead the presentation from now on. And first, we'll go through the findings in the global consumption of cementitious products. So in terms of cementitious products consumption, trade accounts for less than 2% of total global cementitious product demand, and gray cement and clinker are the two main cementitious materials consumed at a global level. The consumption of these two products accounts for 85% of the total cementitious consumption. Also, during the 2016 to 2021 period, cementitious consumption increased at a CAGR of 0.4% to reach 8.9 tons. And during this period, cement and clinker consumption remained stable, while the largest increase occurred in fly ash at a CAGR of 3.2%. In terms of traded volume of cementitious by sea, gray cement and clinker combined are estimated to account also around 85% of the total traded volumes of cementitious 2021. From 2016 to 2021, total cementitious traded volume is estimated to increase at a CAGR of 1.2% to reach an estimated 167 million tons in 2021. And from 2015 to 2021, clinker increased at a CAGR of 0.1%. And in 2021, we expect an estimated 2% increase in trade. Lastly, grade cement as a commodity has been stable with a slight downward trend, but in 2021, we expect an increase of 2% due to the global economic recovery. So now in this slide, we have an overview of the global trade facilities, and we have that globally there are 800 cement import terminals, over 130 waterside grinding plants, and almost 150 waterside plants. Most of these import terminals are located in the Far East Asia, Western Europe, Scandinavia, and Baltics regions, while grinding facilities are more concentrated in the Mediterranean Basin and Black Sea, Western Europe, Scandinavia, and Baltic regions. Also, it seems that larger demand volumes are driving the trend towards larger ships and therefore bigger terminal infrastructures. And in order to meet the market pressures, trade volume per vessel increased, reducing the cost per ton. In terms of the main sea trade routes for cementitious products, the largest volume of materials is traded in Southeast Asia and in Asia Pacific, where the total cargo movement in 2021 is estimated to reach 17 million tons. Out of this volume, 90% belongs to gray and clinker, with gray cement accounting for 35%. Asia is followed by West and Central Africa and Western Europe and Baltics in terms of cementitious materials trading. In West and Central Africa, trade is expected to reach 17.1 million tons, while in Western Europe and Baltics, volumes will reach almost 18.6 million tons. In North Africa, trade will amount 1.5 million tons, and cargoes reaching Black Sea and the Mediterranean basin countries will reach 3.5 million tons. Lastly, in the Americas, 19 million tons are estimated to reach the east coast of the United States in 2021, while 4.5 million tons are expected to reach the Caribbean countries, including the Central America region. Now, we will go over the market outlook. So, out of the total volume, clinker will continue to represent the largest share of all materials volumes, with 43% of the total volume in 2026, while gray, white cement, slag, and fly ash will represent 57% of the volume. Gray and clinker will together account for 183 million tons of cementitious products trade in 2026, which represents an increase of 20 million tons when compared to 2021 volumes. For the period of 2021 to 2026, we expect that total traded volumes of cementitious materials to grow at a CAGR of 3% and to reach almost 192 million tons by the end of 2026. So in other words, compared to 2021, an additional 25 million tons of cementitious materials will be traded by water in 2026. And out of the total volume of 2026, gray cement represents a share of 42%. In terms of the forecast for the main sea trade of cementitious products in 2026, trade is expected to intensify on the routes to the Americas, in particular to the United States, and within Asia Pacific. Compared to 2021, we expect volumes reaching the United States to increase by 2%, including trade coming towards the east and the west coasts and through the Great Lakes from Canada. The expected trend in the coming years is for developed markets such as Australia and New Zealand to import cementitious materials, particularly clinker, as this would reduce the CO2 emissions associated with the cement production. On the other hand, we expect volumes coming to the Caribbean countries to fall considerably by 2026. So to wrap up this webinar, I will go over now the final remarks. The first remark is that the economic growth is expected for the next 5 years as major economies start to recover from the pandemic, including the United States and the European markets, which can experience remarkable increases. In terms of demand, the cementitious trade is expected to increase almost 5% this year, due to a rise in demand in all major markets as a consequence of the previously mentioned economic recovery. Lastly, the trade of clinker will continue to be increasing due to environmental regulations which are in place in major markets such as China. These regulations pressure these markets to decrease their clinker production, and therefore the clinker imports increase. Thank you so much for joining us in our webinar, and see you in our next webinar.